What up, peeps? McMullen again. Time to talk about how to factor a quadratic with a leading coefficient that isn't equal to 1, where there isn't a common factor across all the terms. Let's look at this example this time. We're going to look at 2x squared minus 15x plus 18 equals 0. And in this case, as you can see, the only possible factor would be 2, and of course, negative 15 isn't even, so that can't be factored. So the process that we're going to use here is the AC method. And what that means is we're going to take the leading coefficient, the quadratic coefficient, and multiply it by the constant term first. So this is A times C, in this case 2 times 18. And of course that's 36. I'm doing some skipping, so let me just try that one more time. 2 times 18 is 36. There we go. And that's going to be the product. We're looking for two integers whose product is 36. But of course, the sum is going to be negative 15. 36 is going to be the product. And oftentimes, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not as easy to just off the top of your head determine the two integers that have that particular sum or product. So what I like to do is I start with just the easiest. I look at the product and I say, well, I know that, of course, any number is divisible by 1 in itself. Of course, we know that the sum is going to be negative and the product is positive, so they'll both be negative here. But of course, negative 1 and negative 36, their sum would be negative 37. That's clearly not the answer. So I just increase my smaller factor and then correspondingly decrease the larger factor. So I go to, does 2 go into 36? Yes, it does. And how many times? 2 times 18 is negative 2 and negative 18. Of course, their sum is not negative 15 either, so we got to keep going. Is 36 divisible by 3? Yes, it is. How many times does 3 go into 36? 12 times. And aha, there we are. Negative 3 plus negative 12 is negative 15. I think we found our numbers. We found the integers. So what I'm going to do, though, is these two values, unlike when you're factoring a regular quadratic with a leading coefficient of 1, this doesn't allow us to jump right in to get the factors in this case. Instead, these numbers indicate how we should rewrite the linear term. So instead of writing negative 15x, we're going to now write this as 2x squared. Again, instead of negative 15x, we're going to write negative 3x and then negative 12x plus 18 equals 0. You can see this is equivalent. It's just that down here, we're rewriting that middle term so as to be able to factor by grouping, which is what we're going to do at this point. And when I say factoring by grouping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the first two terms here. Indicate that. Look at these two terms. And I'm also going to look at these two terms over here. Now, interestingly, I'm going to talk about this in just a moment. 2x squared minus 3x. We're going to ask what the common factor is here. And of course, 2 and 3 don't share a factor, but x squared and x are both here. So we're going to write that as x times 2x minus 3. And the reason that this AC method works when the initial quadratic is factorable is that we should be able to end up with 2x minus 3 when we find a common factor of negative 12x and 18. Notice I haven't put this in parentheses here. The reason is because if I did, the question is, well, do I put a parentheses like here? I mean, I kind of want to have the 12x, but with the negative, but if I put the parentheses there, it looks like I'm multiplying, and that's not good. I'm going to undo that. Instead, to make this a little bit, I mean, I know it's a little bit unclear, but that's just the way it goes. Algebra 2, you know, I'm speaking to you. So I'm going to change this this subtraction into an addition, make the negative 12x there, and now I can put the parentheses, I guess, that. And now I'm going to ask, well, what's the? I can proceed with the factoring just like as I have. What's the common factor for negative 12x and 18? Bearing in mind that I want 2x minus 3 to be the result. So I could factor out positive 3, or I could factor out negative 3. And in this case, because I want this to be, I'm sorry, I shouldn't even factor out 3. It's 6, right? 6 is the great one. Why we teach math professionally. Anyway, so negative 6 is going to be our factor. And, I'm going to go ahead and put plus negative 6, and then in parentheses, I'll end up with the 2x minus 3. Noticing that because positive 18, divided by -6 is -3. There we are. And now that 2x minus 3 is a part of both of these larger terms, I can then factor that out, giving me 2x minus 3 times x minus 6, or x plus -6, equals 0. And then from here, we can just solve normally. I'll give myself a little more space. And then again, the zero product rule, I can take it all the way out. Here, x is going to equal 6. And over here, go ahead and show the steps. 2x minus 3 equals 0. And consequently, 2x minus 3. X equals 3 over 2. And that is the end of the story. All right. Pretty bad, not going to lie to you. I give myself a 2 out of 5 on that one. But those of you who are adept probably understand what I'm talking about. And if not, well, then you're probably not watching the video, are you? Cheers.